Okay, Jack King here. This is not an occupied home currently. This is a home that my crew and myself installed the wood floors in about 6 years ago. And the client had a fire. And so they're no longer living here, they're living in a hotel while this is going on. But one of the first parts of repair, because they had wood throughout their entire home, in every bedroom, in every closet, with the exception of the bathrooms and the laundry, and the kitchen. So we've got to get the old floor out so that the rest of the remodeling contractors can come through and start doing drywall and fixing ceilings. But I wanted to show you what it looks like trying to tear out wood floors that we originally put down. I wanted you to see the condition it is. This is the preliminary tear out at this point. This is our first round of taking off as much as we could. Now their particular concrete is soft, so there's going to be a lot of places in this floor. Here's probably one of them right here. Down in there, you see that. The concrete is so soft, and the wood was bonded so well to the floor. So there's going to be extensive floor preparation ahead once again. We had to do a bunch last time as well. But to flatten these floors and resurface it and get it all ready. But first, this is just kind of what it looks like while this happens. And it's probably going to take about 5 or 6 days to fully get this off. And of course, we're also going to remove everything right down to the concrete. And when we're done, it's going to have a fairly smooth effect, but there will be lots and lots of dishes and valleys in the floors from where we smooth those out with our grinders. And of course, the chip and hammers took their toll as well. So there's going to be an awful lot of leveler going back down onto this project, and I'll probably video document that as well. But this is just a rough stage of what it looks like right here. Really, really hard work. So there's been 4 guys working on the areas that you just saw here for about a day and a half. We had to rent a gigantic 45,000 kilowatt generator to operate all of our vacuums and chip and hammers. And of course, we're going to have 220 volt grinders running here before too long. But it's kind of what it takes to do this project. So here we're putting on the second coat of primer. The first coat we did this last Friday because it was so porous and we weren't coming back until Tuesday. No one has been in the house since that time, so the concrete floors were still clean for us to come back and do this again. But this home has no, at this time, is not heated. And so the leveler is going to take a little bit, and the primer is going to take a little bit longer to set up than normal. But it's still within tolerances of Mapei manufacturer. So we are here in Arizona, and it hardly ever gets that cold. So coming up through here, we've already got some of the screeds kind of set up and ready to go through here. These are 20-foot screeds right through here. And they've been set at the right elevation. We've got spacers underneath where they should be sitting. Same with over here. And it's not real bad in here, but the floors are extremely pitted. I mean, really bad. So we've got to go over the floor anyway. But with this system, we're going to take out any low spots in the floor as well. Because when we were pulling out this wood floor along with the glue, there were a lot of places where the top layer of the concrete came off, a quarter of an inch or so. And then plus by the time we profiled, we have a lot of areas that they're just beyond the wood manufacturer's recommendations. So all these screeds that you see have been set up with laser and then double checked with levels. We're going to be tying all these other areas in right through here. See how it kind of wraps around over through here? And you've got, basically the screed is pretty much almost touching the concrete, but by the time it gets down over there, it's up in the air with spacers. Another area that we're putting a second cone of the Mapei Primer L on here. As soon as we get this put on there, we'll get the screed set back up into place and then let this stuff dry thoroughly, probably for a good 2 or 3 hours, because it is January here and it's a little bit cooler. Well, for Arizona, it's like 60 degrees or 65 degrees. It'll warm up during the day. You can kind of see what we've already got put together here. We've got these set up, and these are all tied in, set them up with lasers, and then double check them with levels. We know exactly how we're going to tie this all back on and how we're going to make it work. So, like in the hallways, a lot of the concrete came off when we were pulling up the wood floors. So, if you can kind of see, the gap that's right there, which is about 3/8 of an inch. Over here, there's one about 1/2 of an inch. This is actually kind of low area after we pulled up the wood, but it comes right back up. And right there at that spot, it's grade again. So that's why it's really important after you get done doing a demo of a concrete, you pull out a wood floor, a lot of times there's going to be some damage to the concrete. Substantial even sometimes. So you can never just go back over the concrete with a wood floor before you actually go through and check it and flatten it appropriately. You could have a huge disastrous failure on a wood installation if you didn't prepare it and flatten it properly. So when we get done with this project, this will be about 1/16 of an inch and 50 linear feet flat. So all right, this is Jack King. We're very, very close to putting down some leveler, and in this case it will be the Mapei Ultraplan 1 Plus. That is the leveler of our choice. Well, we've got the screeds all set up. Everything's been primed. Everything's had 2 coats of primer where you see these screeds set up. And they're setting at the proper elevation with the shims up underneath there. If you look down this hallway here, you'll see like this narrow rail from side to side. Well, we're even going to flatten out this hallway. And there's actually, in some places, there's a 1/2 inch gap in some of those places. And that rail here ties right onto this rail right here. So the rails that you see here are also strategically set to fit over here. So the amazing thing about the DustRam system for flattening is you can pre-flatten certain areas and then tie one area into another. For example, when this gets all poured over through here, this will automatically be flattened and we'll be able to tie on to that portion right over there. And from there, we're going to wrap around this kitchen area so it'll be flattened 100% continuous. If you come over here, you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it, there's a considerable gap there. I'd say 5/8 of an inch or so. From there to about right there, it goes down to about 1/8 of an inch. So it changes 1/2 of an inch in about 4 feet. Through here, kind of does the same thing again. We've tied on these screeds through here that wrap around into the hallway, and of course this hallway is low. You can see that gap through there. That's actually low. Over here, you see how that screed goes over there and then touches that concrete, but yet it's gapped right here? Well, that just shows you what happened to the concrete pretty drastically when we took the wood floors up. Now the reason they look so smooth to the eye is because we went back over them with our grinders and profiled them up and smoothed out a lot of the gouges and stuff from where we removed the wood. But you can see some really extra big gouges and stuff that are left over. I mean, this one here is probably a good inch deep right there. And you can kind of see some of the other ones in there. But you can see the screeds wrap around, tie on. Everything is the proper elevation all through here. So this is going to be a really flat floor in spite of the damage that was caused to the concrete removing the wood. Now also, this is something else for folks to consider out there. If you have a residential home and you have wood flooring in your home, or even ceramic for that matter, and you're thinking about hiring a company with a ride-on floor stripper, I got to tell you folks, ride-on floor strippers have no business on residential concrete unless the concrete was poured back in the 1960s. If you bring a ride-on floor removal machine into a job like this, the damage to this floor would have been so incredibly extensive as to require thousands upon thousands of dollars more to repair than in the way that you saw that we pulled it out. At one point in this, the screed pretty much almost touches the concrete in a few places. So it's going to be really, really thin in some places, and it might be 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch deep in another area 3 or 4 feet away. So folks out there that think leveler is self-leveling, when you work with rapid set leveler like this, it really has the consistency of like pancake batter. So if you've ever poured pancake batter on a skillet, yeah, when you first put it down, it has a tendency to want to, drain away. But at some point, it's going to stop, and it's still going to end up being, 1/8 of an inch or so thick, 1/4 inch thick. So you can't really pour this on top of humps and expect it to just flow away from a hump. That's why screeding is such a perfect way to scientifically apply this leveler, so that you create the flat platform that you need. Once this is dried, this will probably be set up in about 45 minutes to an hour. Then we'll be able to fill in the blanks around the edges based upon the flat area that we've just created. It's totally foolproof, it's scientific, and like I say, this is our secret of creating these incredibly flat floors. See right over here, you can see the outline right there. You see where the leveler and the top of the concrete met? Well, that's That was the highest part of that part of the concrete. And you see how it's coming out the bottom of the screed. We don't really care. Remember, this is like pancake batter, and at some point it'll just stop flowing on its own, and it'll be fine. Getting ready to level and flatten this whole hallway. And I bet some of you are saying, well, how bad can it be? It's actually fairly significant in here. This is about a 1/2 inch low right where he's pouring this. And yet, when you get over here about 4 feet, it goes right back up to grade. So this just ensures that all of the hallway, when the wood gets reinstalled, that it'll all go down nice and solid. You see the stuff coming out from underneath the screeds? It's actually okay. We don't care about it at this point. There we go. So we'll mix up another bucket. And we build a little miniature little baby screed right here. And it works really cool. Like that. And you see how it's kind of flowing away, kind of like thick pancake batter? Well, you're just going to stop right there until you add some more to it. You don't want to continue on with the screed. So the way it'll all be done, pretty much the sides will already be pre-done because it will flow up underneath the screeds and over to the edges of the walls, so that this hallway will be really, really nice after one just passed through. Then we'll be able to take this elevation from here and span and go across into this bedroom over here and tie these areas together too, and repair all the damaged and wavy concrete that we have going on right now. By the way, for those that are watching, this really dark line right there, that's some kind of a crack repair that went on from before. That's actually all filled in, so it's not a big old gap there. This over here is where they ran some speaker wires. Used to come up right there, but they decided this second time around, no speaker wires. See how the bottom of the screed just hit the top part of the concrete right there? So just barely a 30-second underneath that leveler is actual solid concrete. But yet over here, 3-4 feet away, it's a 1/2 inch deep. Okay, so this is the second day of putting down the UltraPlan 1 Plus. Yesterday we put down about 22 bags, and we did it in various places in the home. And it was kind of interesting how we were able to do this, because we know exactly how to tie in each area because of the system that we have put together here. But the dark areas that you currently see right here are freshly primed UltraPlan 1 Plus, which is basically right in there, and then this is the old concrete. And the reason that you take the primer and you overlap the Ultraplan 1 Plus, because when you get ready to start edging, some of the leveler is going to get onto here. And yes, it will be like a little bit thicker part in here, but it's okay. You just want it to bond well. When we come back with the TPS machine, which is right here, we use that to blend the two areas into one. It'll have kind of like a Bondo effect when it gets done. But we spent all morning doing an initial TPS over all the stuff that we put down yesterday. Over here you can kind of see the platform that we did the day before. We're getting ready to edge, you know, all the way around here. But this is one of our 20-foot long screeds, and you can already see that sitting on the platform there all the way through as it comes through here. I mean, this is turning out super flat. It's called a super flat floor. It'll be within a 1/16 of an inch anywhere in this whole house when it's done. But we're going to fill in all these areas. These are all low, so these get filled in. And here's a platform that we built in here yesterday as well. And we're going to go around and do all the edge work. And we're going to tie in this one spot right here to the spot right over there. And so they just all come together nicely. It might get a little bit grainy here, apologize. We're actually in a home that has no electrical power, so we're run off big generators. This home had a fire, and this is actually the source of the fire. We were doing all the tear out and the floor prep in advance so that the costs for the repairs of the concrete could be submitted to the insurance company. So that's why this is actually getting done now. When the floors get totally flattened in about a couple more days, we'll turn this over to a contractor who will then cover all the floors with heavy duty paper to protect the floors while the rest of the house gets fixed. But you can see here, you can see the height of the screeds in through here, right around through here. So this is all going to get filled back in proper elevation. Kind of see it back over there too. I'd say it's a good 1/2 inch low all the way back in through there. Once again, this was done yesterday too. It has been the initial TPS on it. You can see really just how, I mean, this is a 10-foot straight edge, and I mean, it's hugging the floor everywhere. I mean, so it'll be like this all over the place when we're done. I also wanted to address slightly the concrete, the condition of this concrete when it was poured. When they poured this concrete, it's likely it was done in the summertime. And the reason I say that is because the cream on this concrete was unusually thick and very, very weak, which has accounted for a lot of the reason for the resurfacing of this concrete. But that's my point is residential concrete, a lot of times, and there's about 40% of the jobs we run into, the concrete is actually so soft that if you were to try to bring in a ride-in floor stripper or any kind of big, heavy mechanical device, you know, some of those ride-on floor strippers are, you know, 1,500 to 2,000 pounds. Well, that kind of device, trying to get the wood off of this existing concrete, would absolutely have destroyed this concrete, probably to the point where it would require thousands upon thousands of more dollars to repair than it's going to cost now. So those of you out there that have a wood floor and you want to have it torn out, I would very much encourage you, do not go with the low price. You're going to get what you pay for. And the better and the cleaner you can remove the wood flooring from your concrete, the less costly your floor prep is going to be. So I just wanted to say that for whatever it's worth. Thank you. I got to show this everybody. This is the room where the house caught fire. This is what we're working in right now. Crazy. First time we've ever done any leveling in a home like this condition. But the concrete damage from pulling up the wood floors was extensive enough because of the soft concrete that they wanted to know what it was going to take to actually fix the floor so they could submit it to the insurance company. So everybody, you kind of see what we just did here. These rails are set up at the perfect height with the shims down on the end. They span across over here to the platform that we created yesterday. We just fill in the blank here. So this all hooks on to that stuff over there, and that's already been edged on the other side over there as well. This got edged earlier, so in the morning we'll come back and we'll be able to TPS in and blend these two areas together. Same way with the stuff right here. If you notice, if you can kind of see the edge along through there, that's the normal part of edging with this stuff. So it's, you know, when you screed it, this is what happens. And when you're trying to preserve really micro elevations changes that go from like nothing on concrete to maybe 1/2 of an inch, you're going to have places that do that. But when you blend that back in with the TPS machine, it does clean it all up and makes it really flat. This part in here where Marty's at, it's not going to take very much, so one bucket will go quite far. We're just going to bridge this spot right here to that one way over there, and we're going to take out all the low spots. Tomorrow we'll be able to come back and bridge from here and go into that kitchen area and wrap it around and bridge it back to that spot there. So it'll be one continuous elevation. So when they get the new tile put in over here, the new wood, when the wood goes in, and we'll be doing the wood on this job because we did the floor prep, we'll be able to put that wood in without a T-molding. So that's just kind of the cool advantage when you can flatten the entire area at the same time. It allows wood and tiles to go in virtually with no transitions. Now over here, Marty's going to have to be a little creative because the screed's going to come up to that cabinet, so he's going to tip it away from the screed and gauge it around. And then swing it back around. Okay, this is the final day of the floor prep. It took us 6.5 days to prep out this basically around 2,300 square foot area for the new wood that's going to come in through here. And you can see right through here, this concrete here was still too tall. The concrete had heaved over about the last 6 years. And so we took this and shaved this all down. So it's all in the same plane all the way coming through here. And then, just to give you an idea, this is a 20-foot long straight edge that we have right here. And I'm going to try to get a little closer, like this. And you can kind of see, it just totally hugs the ground all the way through here. It's pretty much like this everywhere, folks. This is what they call a super flat floor. And all through this area, and for example, right here, here's another spot here. See where you can kind of see all the aggregate? And it may be a little out of focus because I was set up to be focused a little bit farther off. But where the leveler's at, you don't know if the leveler is a 32nd of an inch thick or if it's 5/8 of an inch thick. You cannot get a perspective on that. But here you can tell that this was a high spot we ground down, and from here it just fades off into this low area over here. And the concrete itself pretty much was destroyed when we pulled the wood floors out. And so that made the resurfacing of the entire area necessary. And then of course while we were at it, we flattened it to the DustRam System standards, which is about a 1/16 of an inch and 50 feet. You see that in through here. Here's some more areas that were high as well. I don't know if you can tell. We ended up having 55 bags of leveler, Ultraplan 1 Plus. Took 23 gallons of primer. 25 hours of the big grinders and 27 hours of the small grinders to do this project. And there was basically 3 guys on this job working on this thing all the time. If you count my hours, we had over 500 hours in the last 2 weeks as far as pulling up the old floors and doing all the floor preparation. Over 500 man hours. This thing is sweet. So we'll probably come back in about 2 or 3 months after they've done the rest of the repairs on the home, and we're going to be installing wood throughout this whole home, with the exception of the kitchen, laundry, and hall bath, and the master bath. That will get porcelain. That's what we got. Well, here we are about 2 months later after the floor prep was done. We had to wait until the house basically got rebuilt. And it took us 9 days. We put in this, it's about 2,400 square feet of wood of the reserve collection. It's a 4, 6, 8 pattern. And if you'll notice, we got some pretty tall baseboards on here. These are 7-inch baseboards on this house. And the reason they look so amazing in here is because we went to the trouble to flatten that concrete, the subfloor, with that screed method that you saw earlier, probably in the videos. This way the baseboards sit super flat. And then we go through with caulking, white caulking on the top, and then on the bottom it's so precise. Let me see if you can even kind of, see if I can get into there and show a little bit of detail. But the way we caulk it, the caulking is very inconspicuous. In fact, it doesn't really stick out from the baseboards. It goes straight down. And because there's such a minimal amount that's going in there, the baseboards just look immaculate. "9 days. And there was a lot of trim. You can see all the little pieces that we would have had to put on there with the trim. Now this house originally had rounded corners, but they had this little short baseboard that was, probably only about 2.5 inches tall. So we replaced those, and they don't make rounded corners this size. So these are precision mitered to fit. And you can kind of just see how really nice this all looks in through here. I'm quite proud of this job. We don't really install anymore. The only reason we did this one, this was a previous customer that we did like 6 years ago. And then of course their house caught on fire and a portion of it burned. And she was already familiar with our type of, craftsmanship and wanted us to do it again, and I'm thrilled. You can see here there's also a new tile that's been put in here. Because we had the luxury of flattening the floors in advance, there is no T-molding, and the wood basically is super just flat right through here. There's no lippage at all. A little bit of scaffolding in here. They're still doing some work. They're hanging a bunch of electronic stuff. So here we got in this area in here. It looks real nice. Changed out the showers, did some different stuff in the showers. Once again, this is a new floor in here. And no T-molding. That's just a slick way to do it. But you really only can get away with that if you're flattening all of the areas all at the same time. So there's siliconized acrylic latex caulking with the sand in it and the color of the grout, which is haystack. That's all been caulked around the edges, and it looks exactly like a grout joint. But the cool thing is it's never going to crack, and it actually bonds the bottom of the baseboards into place so they don't ever get any movement. So after this, we're going to go back onto our regular schedule, which is basically dust-free tile removal and concrete grinding, floor preparation. But this just gives you a little idea of my background and the kind of attention to detail that I try to bring into my work. Isn't this beautiful right through here? This whole look at this hallway. Of course, the way it wraps around too. Anyway, that's it. Thank you folks out there for listening. I do appreciate it. And I do appreciate those out there that are interested in my brand of quality.